All right, everybody. It looks like we are live. Let's get this kicked off. PoE Texas's first live Amazon live stream. Let's go.
So you've discovered the power and flexibility of Power over Ethernet. Running power and data 303 feet or more. It works great. You survey your domain like a conquering hero. You're running phones, Wi-Fi access points, all kinds of stuff. And then you got hungry. Then you decided you could do more. You started powering non-PoE devices with thin clients, like thin clients or iPads. But then you discovered you wanted more. You had to have more. You had to have more power. You wanted to do iPad Pros. You wanted to do the big stuff. So you called down to your engineer, and what do you say? Hello, I'm Tyler Andrews, the head nerd here at PoE Texas, and we've answered your call. Our new GAT line of splitters and adapters gives you the same flexibility that you wanted with your PoE, but now with a 25-watt power budget for non-PoE devices. So today I'm going to show you how to select and set up your GAT line of splitters so you could do more power. Let's get started.
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the PoE Texas first Amazon live stream. Thanks for coming. First, get your questions and comments to me. We've got Maria Medell. She is my lovely co-host. She is manning the chat lines. And the value of a live show is that you, the audience, get to help direct the flow of the show. If you want to see something different or want to see something in particular, comment. I'll respond right here live. To warm us up, I want to introduce a few popular products you can power with PoE Plus. These are by no means everything you can power. I'm just going to seed some ideas and you can take it from there. So let's switch over here. I apologize, I'm going to find my list while we're talking about it. This is the fun part about live television. All right, let's kick this off. So this is the list of products. We've got the iPad Pro, 10-inch and above, Surface Go, Classic Surface, smaller laptops, Surface Pro, Raspberry Pi and accessories, the Intel Nook, Google Wi-Fi, Eero Mesh Network, LED lights, PTZ cameras, monitors, media players, loudspeakers, and on and on. There are a ton of devices that you can now power with PoE Plus that you couldn't do before with PoE. And that's really important. And I think you get the idea out there. So here's what I'm going to suggest. Find a new project. Find something cool and exciting you want to do. Grab a power brick for any device you'd like to power. Flip it over and double check how much power it draws. As long as it's 25 watts or less, you can power it with PoE Plus. It's got a 25-watt budget. Okay. You guys caught me. Even if it takes more than 25 watts, we can still take care of you. But that's a topic for a future show. So reach out to us through Amazon if you would like to do a project with more than 25 watts. So let's get back on topic. PoE Plus splitters and adapters. The PoE Texas line of PoE Plus adapters has a wide selection of voltages you can choose from. As I put up on our board of configuration. Let's take a look at those. And live TV, gonna have a good time. So, we've got our direct to DC line of PoE splitters. You've got the 5-volt version, you've got the 12-volt version, you've got a 15-volt version, a 19-volt version, and a 24-volt version. So I know, a lot of you guys are out there asking, Why so many power options? Why don't we just give you one splitter that has everything you need and I could just pick it with a switch? Well, frankly, we've got a philosophy here that's worth us talking about. And I'm going to make sure I bring this up here. I'm managing this show myself manually, so I appreciate the patience while I am working through some of our first technical difficulties or technical issues. Um, but I'm not bringing up that. So anyway, here we are. Here's the philosophy that we go by. You buy it once, but you pay the bills on it forever. So the challenge with picking and designing one device that has multiple power settings on one device is you can never optimize on any one of them. You end up being less efficient on all of them. And that's a really big problem for you as the final owner because you have to live with this thing forever. And you will be paying bills on that forever, both for the heat loss and for the energy efficiency. So, because of that, we went ahead and voted to optimize our solutions to give you the best efficiency at each level. And that's a really important feature that we live by and we really believe in for our customers. So we're gonna take that away, and I'm just double checking the chat line. Maria, why don't you reach out and say hi to everybody out there so we can see what kind of questions or comments are coming through from our audience out there. While we do that, I'm just going to move my teleprompter up. It lost track. So the other line of splitters that we have, besides just the direct to DC, is a new and exciting line. And I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you can get a better perspective on it. That is our USB Type-C line of splitters. So that also runs on PoE Plus because of the things like the iPad Pro and the new Surface Go. And you can see we have a USB Type-C adapter. It converts power over Ethernet into USB-C for things like the Surface Go and the iPad Pro. And in this case, the power and data are separate. Now, some of you are saying, well, I'm looking at my Lenovo Mix or one of my larger tablets. It draws more than 25 watts. What do I do? Well, the simple answer is right now we have our USB-C kit. This is a passive PoE kit that allows you to go up to 41 watts, and it comes with a power supply, a PoE injector, this splitter that we're showing up here, and all in a kit. So you can power the larger devices without having to get anything special. Now, if you combine this wide selection of products that we have with the right cable, and we have tried to find as many cable adapters as you could possibly need, then you can power almost anything. I'll pull these guys out here, and I'll show you a couple of the options. Up on the board of configuration, I'll get out of the way. You can see we've done the DC to micro USB to power up the Raspberry Pi. Now, I know some of you guys out there thinking, well, my Raspberry Pi draws less than 15 watts of power. And that's true, but if you're adding any kind of accessories like a keyboard, a mouse, it's going to quickly draw more than the 25 watts or 15 watts of power. And that's when you need to step it up with 20 watts of power. I'm also showing here a DC to DC cable, and we'll talk about cable adapters in a bit for a monitor. And here you've got this monitor that is powered up to a 12 volt, 25 watt display. That's very cool. So I'm getting off topic. I'm getting ahead of myself. We've got micro USB, straight right angle, left angle. We've got female USB for the higher wattage. We also have the DC to DC cables in a wide selection. And so that is where we're really trying to make it possible for you to power anything you want. I mean, give us an idea of what you want to power. So throw some in the chat line. Tell me what you would power with 25 watts, what you would do with it, and let's discuss it. I'd love to throw some of the ideas out here and actually mock it up for you today. Now, I've got a few examples of products that I'm going to mock up for you, including the Raspberry Pi and this monitor, and we'll be talking about how to set up the splitter and how to get it working. So with that, I'm going to zoom out here just a little bit, and I'm going to move our teleprompter. So our teleprompter is having a hard time keeping up with me. So let's hopefully we can make this work. Live shows are always fun because they've got a lot of different options out there. So while we're talking about it, let's talk about how getting to know how to pick the right PoE Plus or GAT device. First and foremost, check your data sheet and specifications on your product. Very often, good products and detailed products will actually list the power they use and the amount of power consumption. Now, if that doesn't work, simply flip over the power supply that comes with the device and check out what voltage it uses. So in this case, I'll bring this up. You can see here, this was a power supply that I received with a product, and you can easily see it's a 12 volt, 5 amp product. So it would be more along the lines of 60 watts. So don't plug this into your PoE Plus splitter, but it's an example of how you would find on that output of that device, and I'll put it right over there. You can find on the output of that device what power it draws. So that is how you would decide whether you want the 5 volt, 12 volt, 25, 24 volt wide range of products. I can give you some tips here. So I'm just going to toss it up here. This is our pro tip. Laptops. Most laptops will try and draw about 19 volts of power. Most monitors draw anywhere from 15 to 19 volts of power. Most smaller devices will draw 5 or 12 volts. So that's what you're going to be able to see as we talk about it. So with that, I'm going to be able to demonstrate a few setups here with you today, including a couple Surface products, which ended up being really good use cases. There's the classic Surface that comes with a micro USB port that draws about 15 watts of power, which is just above where PoE can go. We've got the Surface Pro. I'll pull that up here so you can see it. We got a Surface Pro, and I'm going to plug it in here in just a second. We've got the Surface Go as well, both of which will work on PoE Plus, given you do some settings right on them. And we're going to show those two and a Raspberry Pi driven media player, like I've talked about behind me here, to talk through the key points of the project. So the key things you need to know about when you're doing any PoE splitter project are some basics that have to do with PoE. Number one, the power sourcing equipment, or PSE. I'm showing here on the right, on my right, and maybe your left, a 4-port PoE switch that we offer and our 4-port mid-span. What's important is that these are all PoE Plus. What you want to know about the PoE Plus is that it does 25 watts of power. It can output 25 watts of power per port. Now, some of you are looking at this going, well, what's the difference between this guy here and that guy there? The simple answer is that a PoE switch will take one line of data in to the uplink port. And they usually have an uplink port dedicated for taking data in. And then they will output power out. So I'm going to go ahead and flip over the use case here. I'm going to plug in our PoE switch so you can see it firing up. And what it's going to fire up is our 24 volt adapter. as well as the power for our USB-C and our 15 volt 25 watt adapter that we're going to do with the Surface Go. Now, a switch has one uplink port and then it has so many output ports. Now, an important pro tip here, I'll give you the pro tip signal again. Most PoE switches do not actually account for an entire budget for every port being at full power. So what you're going to want to do is consider what devices you're plugging into your switch. Make sure you don't overpower your switch. What'll happen is you'll start seeing intermittent shutdowns. Typically, switches will have some protocol by which they shut down some of the ports to keep some of the ports live as you draw more and more power. That is where a device like our PoE testers come in handy. You can actually field test whether your device, what power your switch is drawing. So that's a pro tip there. Now, some of you are asking me, what is this lovely green device here on the right? This is called a PoE midspan. And what a PoE midspan really does for you, that's a big advantage, is it allows you to add PoE, and I'm going to step onto this side so you can actually see my handsome face. A PoE midspan actually adds PoE to any PoE or non-PoE switch. So in this case, this is a PoE plus midspan. And what it will do is it will allow you to add PoE plus to, let's say this is just a regular PoE switch, but I want to do PoE plus. I've got all these cool things I want to do. It will up your output power by taking the data in and adding PoE plus out here to your individual device. And it does it port by port. So it has 4 ports in for data, 4 ports out for data. You have to connect a data line to each input port and a PoE port out. And the real value to that is you don't have to pay to upgrade your switch. A lot of people have switches that you don't want to upgrade. They've been there forever. They're working great. They're all configured. You do not want to tear that thing out and try and put in a new one. And that is really what the midspan is for. So I'm going to scroll back here and I'm going to give you another. I'm checking my script here. Another pro tip. If you connect one of our PoE Plus splitters to a traditional and what we call IEEE 802.3 AF PoE switch, you would find that it works. It just pops up. There's no problem. But there's a little secret. Once your device starts to draw more power, once your device, the device you're powering draws too much power, the PoE port on your switch will shut itself off, and then it will pop back up again, real suddenly, most of the time. Some of the higher end ones will shut off, send you an error message, but it's just a really out of the box, simple one. It'll just shut off and then pop back up again, and it will flicker or be intermittent, which is a terrible case to try and troubleshoot because you never know what's going on. So we've talked about the PSE, we've got the switch, and we've got the midspan. Number 2, let's talk about cables. A lot of people ask questions, what kind of cable can I use for PoE Plus? And PoE Plus can operate, and I'm losing my teleprompter again. PoE Plus can operate on Cat5 cables and better, like Cat5e, Cat6, and to answer the questions about which cable type to use, you have 3 real considerations: price, efficiency, and data rate. As a general rule of thumb, I suggest installing the nicest cable you can afford, because the cost of the time to install the cables generally outweighs the cost of the incremental cost for a nicer cable. If in the future you decide to upgrade either your power or your data rate, you save that much. But if Cat5e is all you can afford, go for Cat5e. And just to make sure I'm clearly lining this out for you guys, Cat5e does gigabit up to gigabit data rates. And believe me, like here in our office, I'm streaming this video and doing all the work that we do in the office for 100 meg. So gigabit is nice and fast. You can, if you go to Cat 6A, you go up to 10 gig, which is screaming rocket fast. And then you get up to Cat 7, and yeah, you're just kind of beating a dead horse at that point with really nice cable that can do things that we don't even know we're going to do with them. So we talked about, so that's the cable. Number 3, we're going to recap on how to pick your splitter. So again, we talked about start with the data sheet. If you don't find the power requirements there, go to the power supply. But now we come to the most difficult part, which is oddly enough, picking the right power connector. If you just go onto Google and Google coaxial DC power connectors, you are going to find there are dozens of types of connectors out there, and that you need to work with. Our splitters, for all of you need to know out there, come standard all across the line, except for the USB-C line. They come with 5.5 by 2.1 millimeter DC barrel port. And then our USB-C obviously come with USB-C, which I like. So here we go with another pro tip. The most common DC tips out there are, and I'll do them in some sort of order here. That's my video, sorry, wrong button. On the small end for 5 volts, you've got the 3.5 by 1.35 DC barrel jack. That's typically going to handle your 5 volts. You occasionally find it on smaller devices. It's a smaller connector, and so it's designed to fit on smaller devices. Next, you've got your 5 by 5 by 2.1 DC barrel connector. That is really the most common that we find. And it handles everything up to about 19 volts, and it's a very common standard that we really like. The next one that you're going to see occasionally, you'll find this on the Intel Nook. For those of you who are curious, is a 5.5 by 2.5 DC barrel jack. And the only difference, if you're looking really closely at these pictures and you're zoomed way in, is the inside barrel is slightly larger. And you're going to want to know this because a 2.1 will not fit into a barrel jack that's 2.5. Now 2.5 may fit in under 2.1, but you're going to get intermittent and it's not going to be really reliable. And then one of the interesting ones that we're seeing a lot more of these days is what's called the EIAJ 04 connector. Some people call this the Sony connector, and you find this typically on streaming cameras. And yes, in fact, we do support streaming cameras. And what's cool about our products, for those of you who are curious, is that our products do handle gigabit data rate. So your heavier streaming camera data that goes over Ethernet will work just fine on our splitters. I've played around with a couple of them to work with NDI. If you're familiar with the NDI, Nutex NDI standard, works just great. So those are the different types of connectors that you're going to find out there. We support all of them. We try and provide each of our products with the right kit. So for example, when you're looking on our Amazon store, which you should be seeing some of these products just below me here, you're going to find them pre-kitted. So for example, the 5-volt version is going to come with some micro USB connectors because most things are using micro USB. The 12-volt that I'm showing right there is going to come with a 2.1 to 2.1 millimeter DC barrel jack. The 19-volt comes with a 2.1. That's the 19-volt down there. But that's probably one you're going to find ends up using stuff for monitors and everything. It's a little bit different. The 15-volt, interestingly enough, is mostly used for the Surface Pro. So on that note, I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of connecting and powering up the Surface Pro here. Let me So I'm going to pull this guy up. This is my handy dandy test stand Surface Pro. I'm going to power on our switch since that's what we're using with the 15 volt splitter here, and we've got this MS Pro adapter that allows you to connect. So you've got, I'm going to switch sides here. Key point, you've got your switch. This is a PoE Plus switch, and I'm going to pan over a little bit to make sure we see that. This is our PoE Plus switch here on the board of configuration. It's a 4-port switch, and it is going to connect to, it goes through, this is a Cat5 cable, flat LAN cable, to our 15 volt, 25 watt splitter. And then, simply put, you plug it in and power it on. And for those of you who are watching at home, we'll see that this guy is going to power up and do charging, which is really convenient. You can see the little charging indicator on the bottom there. And so that's how to set up and do a Surface Pro. Now, a note about the Surface Pro, you start plugging in a lot of heavy duty equipment into the USB ports, you're probably going to go over 25 watts. But for the most part, sitting at your desk, running with a keyboard that comes with it, just doing a video out to a monitor, you're doing pretty well. The same is true for the Surface Go. So I'm going to turn off these connectors here. So you can see we've got our Surface Go. It's a new product. I love to see these things. I've been a Surface Go or Surface Pro user, so I was excited to see the Surface Go come out. And the Surface Go is USB Type-C. So I'll just use our USB Type-C. Again, we're going from the PoE switch through the Cat5 cable to our splitter. These do come with screw mounting points, so they're very easy to mount in an inconspicuous location, and then you can plug it in here, and you've got power going to it. Now, one of the things that I'll turn this guy on so you can see, we've got charge there on the bottom. Now, one of the things that I'll point out is this USB-C and the 15 volt splitters, they're both split the power and data. And all you need is a network cable to a USB to Ethernet adapter, plug it into the side of this guy, or into the Pro, and you're good to go. With the USB-C, what you would do is you would get a USB-C hub. Just a standard USB-C hub. We offer one. It's not on Amazon yet, and so we're going to be trying to get that up on Amazon as quickly as we can for this to allow you to connect power and data conveniently to your Surface Go. Now, that does bring up a good point. Something conspicuously missing off our board is our PoE to USB-C adapter, which will be coming out later this year, and we're very excited about it. So we've covered doing a USB-C to a Surface Go and an iPad Pro. Let's start talking about this powering up your Raspberry Pi. So I'm just going to step over here and reconnect the power to our device. Now this configuration would work well with just an Android. You could do it with just an Android media player. You could do it with a range of different products that act as a media player. So you can see now we've powered up the Raspberry Pi. It's kicked off. We've got this display. You can go typically up to about 20 inches with PoE Plus on a monitor. And what I recommend very often is, not a lot of people know, we have a simple product called the MMF RJ45. It's not on the show today, but we'll throw it in the comments. And it can allow one network cable. You can still run both the Pi and the display over one network cable, put them all together. We're going to be doing a video project on that. So keep an eye out for our YouTube show where we're going to cover that. And like I said, it's very simple. So I'm gonna just double check and see if we got any questions coming up on the chat line, because I like to answer questions and engage with the audience. We do live streams ourselves on YouTube and Facebook, the first and third Tuesday of every month. We take questions, we talk to experts. We're really using this Amazon channel to give you great detail on our products. So I'm going to take a quick pause and just look over at our expert here. We're pretty quiet on the chat lines today. It is our first show, and that's not a big deal. We see this happen, our first live stream on YouTube. We didn't get a lot of comments or feedback, but the comments and the feedback come, and we really appreciate you coming to the show and spending this time with us. So we do want you to check us out. Leave comments on our products. We do respond to every comment you give on our products, good, bad, or otherwise. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We want to know what you're thinking, and we really care about what's important to you, because you are the people that make this great. You're the reason why we get to do this, and we very much enjoy working with you and being here on Amazon to show our products. So with that, I've taken up 30 minutes. It's been a long conversation here by myself, but we really appreciate you tuning in and watching. Check us out every month. We're going to be back here on Amazon live streaming every month. And pause, I'm getting a reminder. For those of you who are watching the show, we have a special 10% discount. Check it down below. We should have a 10% discount coupon that you can get on and find our products at a 10% discount right now, the products that we've been talking about today, which is a good deal. And next month, we are going to be talking about Prime Day. So everybody gear up for Prime Day, get ready. And then if you've enjoyed the show, reach out to us on our social channels. Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, find us on YouTube. Keep up to date with what we're doing, and join us again when we come back on our next live show. And so, let me thank all of you for coming. It's been a great show. And if you have any questions, like I said, get on Amazon, comment for us. We'll get back to you right away. So, with that, if I don't have any other questions, I'm going to wrap it up for the day, let you guys get back to shopping, and we will see you next month.